The city bus stop hummed with morning noise, a blur of hurried feet and hushed conversations. Amidst the rush, Sam stood a little apart, a quiet island in the bustling sea. He was a single dad, and every day felt like a marathon. His shoulders, usually slumped with weariness, were held a bit straighter today for the small hand tucked into his. Lily, his daughter, was a tiny ray of sunshine, her bright eyes wide as she watched the cars zoom by. Sam's clothes told a story of hard work and endless days. His blue work shirt, once a crisp uniform, was now faded and soft, with a small tear near the pocket that he'd tried to mend with shaky stitches. His jeans were patched at the knees, a testament to countless warehouse shifts where he lifted heavy boxes. But it was his shoes that truly spoke volumes. The soles were thin, almost worn through, and the laces, once white, were now a tangled mess of gray, barely holding the worn leather together. Each step he took seemed to echo the strain in his life. He rubbed his tired eyes, already feeling the ache of the long day ahead, but a gentle squeeze from Lily's hand brought a small, soft smile to his face. She was his reason, his everything. Across the bustling pavement, Sarah waited too, clutching her perfectly neat handbag. Her gaze, usually fixed on her phone, drifted over the crowd. She noticed Sam not because he stood out in a good way, but because he seemed to blend into the background with his quiet, tired presence. Her eyes took in his faded shirt, the patched jeans, and then, with a slight frown, his shoes. They looked as if they were about to fall apart. Sarah, a woman who prided herself on being put together, made a quick judgment. How can someone let themselves get like that? She thought, a small wave of disapproval washing over her. She imagined him as careless, someone who didn't bother to take pride in his appearance. It was easy to assume he just didn't care enough to replace his tattered shoes or get a new shirt. She didn't see the long hours, the heavy lifting, or the choices a single dad often has to make. She only saw the worn fabric and the fraying laces. She quickly looked away, dismissing him as just another person who needed to try a little harder. Her own life was organized and neat, and she expected a similar effort from others. She had no idea of the story behind Sam's tired eyes and worn-out clothes. She just saw what was on the surface. The wait for the bus stretched on, and a soft rumble echoed in Sam's stomach. He hadn't had time for breakfast, and his shift wouldn't end until late afternoon. Lily, sensing his hunger perhaps, tugged on his shirt. "Daddy, are you hungry?" she asked, her voice small. Sam smiled, a tired but loving curve of his lips. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a half-eaten granola bar, his last bit of food. It was all he had left. "Here you go, sweet pea," he said, breaking off a piece for her. Lily's eyes lit up, and she happily munched on the sweet treat. Sam watched her, his own hunger pangs ignored as he found joy in her happiness. He took a deep breath, the smell of the granola bar a cruel reminder of his empty stomach, but he wouldn't have it any other way. Sarah, who had been trying to ignore them, happened to glance back. She saw the worn granola bar, saw Sam's hungry look, and then saw him hand the largest piece to Lily. A flicker of surprise crossed her face. This wasn't the action of a careless man. This was an act of quiet, selfless love. Her earlier judgment, so firm just moments before, began to crack, just a tiny bit, like a hairline fracture in a perfect mirror. She watched, a little confused, as Sam simply smiled at his daughter, his own needs forgotten. Just as Lily finished her snack, the rumbling sound of the approaching bus filled the air. It pulled up to the curb with a hiss of brakes, and the line of people began to move forward. Sam reached into his pocket for his bus fare, his fingers searching for the coins he'd carefully saved. His brow furrowed as he counted. There wasn't enough, not for 2 fares. His heart sank. "Lilybug," he said softly, kneeling down to her level, "you go ahead and get on the bus. Daddy's going to walk today." Lily's happy smile faded. "But Daddy, it's a long way," she protested, her voice laced with worry. Sam forced a cheerful grin. "Nonsense, sweet pea, a little walk is good for me, gives me time to think up new stories for you tonight." He gently pushed her towards the bus door, pressing the exact fare into her small hand. "Now go on, find a good seat, be a big girl for Daddy." The bus driver, a kind-faced woman, saw the exchange but said nothing. Lily, still looking unsure, finally stepped onto the bus. Sam watched her go, a lump forming in his throat. He had to make sure she got to school, even if it meant a much longer journey for him. Sarah, still at the bus stop, saw the whole scene unfold. Her eyes widened and the small crack in her judgment grew into a gaping hole. This man wasn't careless, he was sacrificing. As the bus pulled away, leaving Sam alone on the curb, the sky decided to weep. A gentle drizzle quickly turned into a steady, cold rain. Sam pulled his thin collar up, a poor defense against the downpour, and began to walk. Each step in his worn shoes squelched against the wet pavement. The already thin soles offered little protection, and soon his feet were soaked and cold. He didn't look back. His eyes were fixed forward on the long, winding road ahead. His mind wasn't on the biting wind or the growing chill. It was on Lily, safe and warm on the bus, heading to school. He pictured her smiling face, and that image became a shield against the discomfort. Every drop of rain that hit him was a small price to pay for her well-being. Sarah, still seated on the bus, watched Sam through the rain-streaked window. The bus moved slowly through traffic, allowing her to keep him in sight for a surprisingly long time. She saw him hunched against the wind, his shoulders shaking slightly from the cold, but he kept walking, one determined step after another. He didn't hail a cab, didn't duck into a shop for shelter. He just walked, a solitary figure disappearing into the gray, wet morning. A lump formed in Sarah's throat, much like the one Sam had felt earlier. She saw not carelessness, but a powerful, unyielding love. As the bus finally turned a corner and Sam disappeared from view, Sarah felt a deep shift inside her. The comfortable certainty of her earlier judgments crumbled entirely. Her neat, orderly world, where people's worth was sometimes measured by their outward appearance, felt suddenly very small and wrong. A sharp pang of guilt pricked at her heart. How could she have been so quick to judge? How could she have seen only worn shoes and not the heart of the man walking in them? The careless man she'd imagined was, in truth, a hero. He was a father who put his child's needs so far above his own that he would give his last bite of food and walk miles in the cold rain just so she wouldn't be late for school. Sarah felt a profound admiration bloom in her chest. It wasn't just respect, it was something warmer, a quiet awe for such deep, unwavering selflessness. The image of Sam, head down against the rain, walking for Lily, burned brightly in her mind. Her entire perspective had been turned on its head. She realized that what truly mattered was not how someone looked, but what was in their heart, and Sam's heart was clearly full of love and strength. The next morning, Sarah arrived at the bus stop earlier than usual, a warm travel mug clutched in her hand. Her heart thumped a little harder than normal. She scanned the familiar faces, and there he was, Sam, standing with Lily, looking just as tired but just as devoted as the day before. He wore the same faded shirt, the same patched jeans, and his shoes still looked like they'd seen too many miles. Taking a deep breath, Sarah walked over. Her palms felt a little sweaty. "Excuse me," she said, her voice a bit softer than she intended. Sam turned, his eyes holding a flicker of surprise as he recognized her from the day before. "Yes," he asked, a polite but weary tone in his voice. Sarah extended the warm mug. I saw you yesterday," she began, feeling a blush creep up her neck. "And I just wanted to say, this is for you, a warm coffee. It's really cold out here." Oh, that... Sam looked at the steaming mug, then at Sarah's earnest face. His tired eyes softened, and a small, genuine smile touched his lips. "Oh, wow," he said, taking the mug, his fingers wrapped around the warmth, a welcome comfort. "Thank you." "That's really kind." "I'm Sarah," she offered, feeling a little less nervous now that the first step was taken. "Sam," he replied, nodding, "and this is Lily." Lily, shyly peeking from behind his leg, gave a small wave. A tiny, hopeful connection had just been made. "That was really thoughtful, Sarah," Sam said, taking a careful sip of the hot coffee. The warmth spread through him, chasing away some of the morning chill. "I usually just grab water, if I remember." He glanced down at Lily, who was now holding onto his leg, peeking at Sarah with curious eyes. "No problem at all," Sarah replied, a genuine smile replacing her earlier nervousness. "It looked like you could use it." And I saw you walking yesterday in the rain. Sam's cheeks flushed slightly. Oh yeah, just a little detour. Lily had to get to school, you know. He shrugged, making light of his long, wet journey. He didn't want to seem like he was looking for pity. It was more than a little detour, Sarah said softly, her eyes holding a deep understanding. It was very kind of you. A comfortable silence fell between them for a moment, not awkward, but filled with unspoken thoughts. Sam found himself studying Sarah. She had. Over the next few weeks, the bus stop transformed from a place of hurried departures into a small pocket of warmth for Sam and Sarah. Each morning, Sarah would arrive a few minutes early, often with 2 mugs of coffee now, one for herself and one for Sam. Lily, no longer shy, would grin up at Sarah, sometimes even accepting a small, brightly colored hair clip Sarah had brought for her. Their conversations grew longer than just polite greetings. They talked about their days, Sam about the busy warehouse and Lily's latest drawings, and Sarah about her work in a small office downtown. Laughter, a sound Sam hadn't heard much in his mornings, began to bubble up between them. He found himself looking forward to seeing her, to the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, and the genuine interest she showed in his life. Sarah, in turn, learned about the early starts and late finishes, the endless cycle of making sure Lily had everything she needed. She saw the lines of tiredness around Sam's eyes, but also the deep strength that lay beneath. Their bond deepened with each passing day, a quiet understanding forming between them, woven from shared moments and honest smiles. The bus stop, once a lonely place, now felt a little brighter, a little more hopeful, holding the promise of their growing connection. With each passing day at the bus stop, Sarah gathered more pieces of Sam's life, like precious stones. He spoke of the demanding shifts at the warehouse, the heavy boxes he moved, the way his body ached by evening. He never complained, just stated facts, but Sarah could hear the unspoken effort in his voice. She learned about the early mornings spent making Lily's lunch, the late nights helping her with homework, and the constant worry of making ends meet. But more than the hardship, Sarah saw his boundless love for Lily. Every story he told about his daughter, every glance he gave her, was filled with a tenderness that melted Sarah's heart. He'd proudly show off a drawing Lily had made or recount a funny thing she'd said. It was clear that Lily was his entire world, his motivation for every sacrifice. Sarah realized that the strength she'd glimpsed in the rain was not just physical, but a deep, inner power. Sam wasn't just working hard, he was fighting for a better life for his child, facing every challenge with a quiet, unwavering spirit. He was a man of immense courage and devotion, and Sarah found herself drawn to that strength, seeing past the worn clothes to the extraordinary heart within. As Sarah's understanding of Sam deepened, so too did a new feeling begin to blossom in Sam's own heart. For a long time, his life had been a series of responsibilities, one after another, leaving little room for anything else. Hope had felt like a distant dream and happiness a fleeting visitor, but Sarah's presence changed that. He found himself smiling more often, a genuine, easy smile that reached his tired eyes. The mornings, once a race against the clock, now held a pleasant anticipation. He enjoyed Sarah's company more than he could have imagined. Her laughter was bright, her questions thoughtful, and her kindness felt like a soft blanket on a cold night. She didn't judge him, she simply saw him, truly saw him, for the first time in what felt like forever. Her gentle nature and warm heart were a balm to his weary soul. He found himself sharing things he hadn't told anyone, little worries and small joys, and she listened with an open heart. It was a wonderful feeling, like a hidden door had opened, letting in light he hadn't known was missing. This new feeling, this quiet happiness, was a precious gift, making his long days feel a little lighter and his future a little brighter. One chilly evening, as the last bus pulled away and Lily had already been safely dropped off at a neighbor's, Sam and Sarah found themselves still talking, lingering a little longer than usual. The streetlights flickered on, casting soft glows on the pavement. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of autumn leaves. "It's getting late," Sam said, though he didn't really want their conversation to end. "I should head home." "I'll walk with you," Sarah offered suddenly, a little shyly. It's on my way mostly. Sam's heart gave a little jump. Are you sure it's a bit of a trek? I'm sure, she smiled, her eyes sparkling under the dim light. They walked side by side, their shoulders brushing sometimes. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with the gentle hum of the city at night. When they reached Sam's quiet street, lined with small houses, he stopped at his gate. Thank you, Sarah, he said, turning to face her, for the walk and for everything. She looked up at him, her gaze soft and understanding. You're a good man, Sam, she whispered. Under the soft glow of a nearby streetlight, she reached out and gently touched his arm. It was a small touch, but it sent a warmth through him that had nothing to do with the coffee. In that tender moment, bathed in the gentle light, a silent promise hung in the air. The quiet understanding that had blossomed under the streetlights led to a bolder step. One sunny Saturday, Sam, Sarah, and Lily found themselves in a local park, a bright blanket spread beneath a big oak tree. This was their first official date, though it felt more like a comfortable family outing. Sarah had packed a basket full of sandwiches, apple slices, and juice boxes, while Sam had brought Lily's favorite frisbee. Lily, delighted to have Sarah join their weekend fun, chased the frisbee with joyful squeals, her laughter echoing through the park. Sam watched her, then glanced at Sarah, who was smiling warmly. He felt a lightness in his chest, a happiness that hummed beneath his skin. This simple picnic, surrounded by sunshine and Lily's giggles, felt more precious than any fancy dinner. Sarah, seeing Sam so relaxed and happy, felt her affection for him grow even deeper. She saw how wonderful he was with Lily, how patient and loving. Later, as Lily tired herself out and sat drawing in a notebook, Sam and Sarah sat closer, their hands accidentally brushing as they reached for a sandwich. A comfortable warmth spread between them, a quiet sign of the tender feelings growing in their hearts. It was a perfect day, showing that their love was not just for each other, but for the beautiful family they were slowly becoming. Weeks turned into months, and the seasons slowly changed. The bus stop was no longer just a meeting point, it was a spot where their growing love story unfolded each morning. Sam's shoes were still worn, his clothes still showed the marks of hard work, but now there was a sparkle in his eyes that wasn't just the morning sun. One cool autumn afternoon, after picking Lily up from school, Sam and Sarah walked hand in hand, Lily skipping happily ahead of them. The leaves crunched under their feet, and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees. Sam looked at Sarah, her face glowing with happiness, and then at Lily, whose laughter filled the air. His heart swelled with a feeling he hadn't known was possible. He squeezed Sarah's hand gently. She looked up at him, her smile wide and warm. Their journey had begun with a silent judgment and a selfless act, evolving into a tender friendship and then a deep, quiet love. They had found each other in the most unexpected of places, proving that true love sees beyond outward appearances and finds strength in the deepest parts of the heart. As they walked on, hand in hand, their steps in sync, they looked towards a future filled with hope, love, and the promise of many more shared moments, their beautiful story just truly beginning.